Hello, welcome to Dare to Share with Misty Lane. I am your host, Misty. I am the best-selling author, award-winning speaker, and your host for tonight on Dare to Share with Misty Lane show every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Central. Super duper excited for you guys tonight because we have an amazing guest. Every night we have an amazing guest, but this is a super amazing guest. He's a friend of mine. He coached me. He has shown me the ropes. He's taught me so much. I love him so much, and you guys are going to fall in love with him as well. He is just such a powerful motivator, and he's one of my favorite speakers of all times. He's just I call him a wordsmith. Lauren Michaels Harris is going to be here in just a little bit, but I'm going to make you wait just a few more minutes. We're going to take care of all of our housekeeping stuff first. I'm going to ask that you go ahead and share this out with all your family and friends, because you never know who might need to hear this message that Lauren's going to share with us tonight. There might be something I say or something he says that just might spark some hope in someone and give them that courage that they need to step up. I'm going to also ask that you go to the Facebook page, Misty Lane page, and join the private group, #BeThatOne. #BeThatOne is a movement where I encourage others to step up, be that one to share their raw, authentic truth so that we can learn from each other's stories, that we can become aware, we can be educated to judge less and mentor more. And the dream that I had had for a while is to have a platform for people to be able to do it, because once you find the courage to step up and share your truth, not only with others, but with yourself, you don't really know where to start, how to begin. So this is that first stepping stone. This is that platform to come on and share your story in a judgment-free zone. So I would like for you to join that group for me. And if you want to be a guest on the show, just email Misty Lane at mistylane.com and type the word guest in the subject line. It's pretty simple. All right, let's get Lauren on the screen. I know you all are waiting for him, and I've been so excited for this interview. No other introduction needed. Lauren Michaels Harris. Hi.
Hey, hi, Miss Elaine.
It's so weird with this role reversal, right?
It really is.
It really
It
is.
really is. I feel like I should have the wig on and you should have the bald head. I mean, we might as well take it all the way.
No.
Yay.
I know.
I'm so proud of you. Let me just say something before we start. I know it's your show. And I still have the bell of purpose here because I take it everywhere I go now. But I just want to say how proud I am of you.
Thank you.
Seriously, you've done so much over and over again, and every time something tries to like flatten you out, you're like those remember those like bozo things, you could hit them and they go over and then they pop right back up when you're a kid. You're like that, and I think it's great. And you've just done so many wonderful things. I can't wait to see what 2021 has for you. So
thank you.
Yay, ring the bell of purpose for you.
You have shown me so much and taught me so much. I'm just forever grateful for you for everything, not even for your coaching, but your mentorship and your friendship as well.
Oh, thank you. Same here. And we love all your kids.
They love you too.
I know. I just love them. Yeah. So thank you.
You're welcome. Let's say hi to everyone. Welcome, Stephen Smith, to the show. Thank you for being here. Hi, Jana Genstream. Thank you, Jana. You're going to love Lauren. Jana, he was my coach for a long time. He's just an amazing guy. You're going to love him. Sam is here. Hey, Sam.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, not Lauren.
Yes, Sam. Uh-huh. Yeah. How come Sam doesn't have a picture in there?
I don't know. You know, he's
shy, trying to be shy. Whatever. I saw you with your new truck.
Yep. Okay. All right. So thank you all for joining. If you're here, please drop in the comments where you're watching from. We always like to see where you're watching from. Hey, Billy. Nice to see you here, too. Love you so much and miss you, guy. All right. So, you know, Lauren, you and I are always comical. You're such a fun-loving guy. Your shows are always comical. But this show is more of a serious note. This is Dare to Share. This is to show people that no matter what we go through, that we can all overcome. So we're going to have to
ready.
Okay.
You see I got a brand new box.
Yeah, I see that.
Right.
It's hard because when I talk to you, you know, it's hard to switch that gear with you, but we're going to, because it's not about us. It's about the audience and what they need to get from you. And there's so much you have to give, so much.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So we start every show, Lauren. Oh, hey, Austin's here. Hey,
Hey, I was just asking about you.
we start every show with giving you a couple of minutes to just shine and talk about all the things you're most proud of, your biggest accomplishments in life, because we know everything's not cupcakes and rainbows and unicorns, and that you've had adversity somewhere in your life. But we want to give you the chance first to shine and show us about the greatest things that you're most proud of. So 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, but first I'm gonna have to make a request if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
I yeah, can you get Sam? Thank you. I was like, can you move Sam out of the way? Because I'm a little distracted. Sam's my buddy. He's not under the radar. You're on the screen, Sam. You're right here in front of me. You're under my chin. That's where you are. So anyway, hello everybody, and yeah, thank you, Misty, for having me here. I'm Lauren Michael Harrison. I'll say right from the get-go, my greatest accomplishment, my greatest achievement, is right over my shoulder. How do you do
I
that?
agree.
It's right there. And that is my everything, my husband Brian. Because and I mean that. I'm not just saying that. I mean that. And there's a reason I have him here with me, because everything I do today, I really did not feel like I was worthy of any of it. I didn't. I hadn't started when I met Brian. I hadn't started any of this. I was just doing this, talking about it, and I wasn't even really talking about it. I was more or less whispering it to just a few selective people. It was the kind of thing I was afraid to let anybody know because I thought they'd laugh at me. Like, you have a prison record. How can you want to do something like that? You were a drug addict. How can you want to do something like that? And then there were those inner demons that were whispering to me, you were abused. You were in 22 foster homes. Who the hell is going to want to listen to anything you have to say? I mean, it really had me convinced. And Brian, well, first of all, I told him I was going to marry him the very first day I met him. 4 hours after we met, I just said it.
Yep.
I couldn't help it. I didn't want him to leave. We had met to have coffee and stuff, and it was time for him to leave. And I was afraid that if I didn't say it, I might never see him again. So that was the first time I learned, a closed mouth does not get fed. You really have to, when you feel something so deeply in your spirit, almost to the point where it's cellular,
Yeah.
almost, if you know what that means. It feels like there's no, um, I acted on it. And the great thing about it was, I'm doing what I'm doing today because of this man. Brian bought me a book not long after we started seeing each other, started dating. He bought me a book about how to become a motivational speaker. That book is behind this screen in my bookshelf, on my bookshelf. And I'm gonna keep it real. It's exactly as it was the day he handed it to me. Just as crispy new as it wants to be. I don't even think I read the forward. And the thing about it was, but there I was 4 months later, off and running. We were at the lake house one weekend, and I saw a thing called Thumbtack, and I said, "Well, ooh, they have motivational speaking." So I started a profile, put a little money on there because they pay for it, and I put three. There were three bids that I put out because they all looked like something that I could pull off, even though I'd never spoken. Uh, and
But you got
I
that
did it.
gift, Deb.
Yeah. And the funny part was Brian and our friend Tammy were there. They were supposedly, they're both PhDs. She was working towards her PhD. She just finished it. And they were both writing their books and stuff. They were having a writing summit. They planned it. They had all their stuff upstairs. And I'm out there fishing off the dock and doing all this from the dock on my phone.
Yeah.
And so I did two things that day. I put in for Thumbtack, and the next morning, well, I'm getting ahead. So I put in three. And then I said, well, I wrote my speech out. I transcribed it, the one I did for Listen to Your Mother, which a lot of you know today, uh, ended up becoming my Goalcast video.
Yes. Yeah.
So I used that story, Lost or Found, having had 22 mothers, and I sent it to the number one adoption magazine that day out there that Saturday afternoon, and to the number one foster care magazine. And so the next morning we get up, we're having breakfast, and I go to my phone, and I have first thing I say is, "Oh my God, one of those magazines is wants my story." And they're like, "What?" Everybody's running over looking. I said, and then while they were doing it, ding, it was like, "Oh my God, the other magazine wants my story." And then we were sitting there eating the eggs and bacon, and it went ding, and then I put it was Thumbtack. Congratulations, Lauren Michaels Harris, you've just been hired. Ding. Congratulations, Lauren Michaels Harris, you've just been hired. So I got hired 2 out of the 3, and I got my story picked up by 2 of the 2 magazines. So it was funny because I was like, "Oh my God, you guys, this is great!" And they were both sitting there like,
Yeah, bitch.
You didn't even come here right.
Yeah,
You
that's what
came
I've
here
been
to
thinking.
bitch.
I've been thinking, bitch. Well, okay, so the
And
answer is Brian. Brian's your answer to that, right?
my answer is Brian in my case, but for anyone else, it is having someone who has your back.
That's it.
Someone, sometimes we just need to hear it from someone other than ourselves
Yeah,
in order for it to begin, you know.
right.
Someone that believes in you, no strings attached. So yeah, that was the greatest moment of my life. And this past weekend was my second greatest moment of my life. Outside of meeting and marrying my husband, I just came out of a weekend that changed my life for the rest of my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll tell you about that later.
Okay,
Mhm.
so you mean to tell me this wasn't the greatest moment of your life?
Oh, wait. Oh, God rest her soul. I'm holding Lucy.
I'm sad. I thought that was the greatest moment of your life.
Listen, look at all the changes there. I've gained 23 pounds since then, thanks to COVID. I don't have Lucy anymore, and I don't have that crooked knee anymore, the crooked leg.
Yep, that's
I have a
right.
straight leg because I have a new knee now.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
season
your fault.
two's robe.
Yep. Season two's robe. And then
Ah,
of course we've got that.
oh yes, the next impactor. Bravo to you on that one. You know what? Do you want me to tell you something you don't know about the impactor?
Sure.
Are you sure? You want me to tell you?
Absolutely.
Did
Absolutely.
I ever tell you the point difference?
You just said it was really close.
I never actually told you. Okay, do you want to know?
Sure.
Because that'll make you feel. I mean, that's why I say all of you were the impactor winners. Seriously, between Tamara and I could be off on a few numbers, but it was somewhere in there. Between Tamara and first runner up, which was Emily Silman, there was like I think it was 31 votes. Between uh, Emily and you, there was like 12 votes.
Really
And
close.
then it got a little out because Christopher was next. I think there was like 40 votes
Yeah.
between you and Christopher, and then like 13 or 14 between Christopher and the Keyslings. So
Wow.
between the winner and fifth place, there was less than 100 vote difference.
Wow. That's
If you
great.
added them all up, it was still less than 100.
Wow. Well, I thank
I
you so
know.
much. That platform was beautiful. But look, we got to talk about you. We got to get
Oh,
down to it. We
ooh,
got to get this going because
ooh.
you got so much to share, Lauren. They need to hear this. They really need to hear your message. So
Okay.
we're going to talk about. I really want to concentrate on the fact that I know you've told your story that you had 22 mothers through the foster care system, and then you went into you've just been through so much, but I want to really focus on the foster system, what that did for you and to you. And then after that, I want to focus on prison because you and I share that commonality of going through that crack addiction and going to prison, and how that is, how what it's really like in there. So let's start by talking short answers about
Okay.
your short answers about your 22 mothers. Just
Yeah.
what that was like for you, and at what age that started.
Started right around between 8 and 9 years old. And the 22 mothers, I don't see all their faces anymore. I don't remember all their names. But I still today feel the impact that each one of them had on my life. Some good, some not so good, some wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And I'm pretty sure very few of them are probably still alive because, I'm old as Methuselah now, and they were already kind of up there, most of them. Um, but those women each in the Goldcast video, you'll hear me say, if you haven't watched it, please do. But I say in there that, it took me 40 some years to realize that every single one of those women played the specific role in my journey that they were intended to. Did all of them deserve to be called mother? Absolutely not. Did all of them fit what I had known as a mother? No. But did some of them show me that mothers come in all shapes, sizes, colors, and everything that goes with motherhood, yes. I had women who couldn't have their own children. There were mother who had raised their families already and really should have been called grandmother, um, and everything in between. But the thing about the system for me uh, that resonates the most is that it gave me a voice. It really did. God started working within my life early, uh, leading me and guiding me and whispering things to me that only a child could understand, protecting me in ways that people still would never, they still have not invented the words for me to express how he protected me, cradled me, held me close, and still taught me what I needed to know to justify going through whatever it was at the time that I was going through. It's very interesting because you heard me say earlier that this weekend I experienced something that changed my life forever, and it really did. And it started with I was around a lot of high frequency, high energy beings, and I did a heart to heart hug with a girl. And there was a place during all my trauma, in the same place I was taken, transported, metaphysically transported from childhood all the way up to um, through the prison thing and beyond. Uh,
Mhm.
every time, yeah, there was a place. It was like a room that God created uh, that I would be transported to when something was happening that might be too much for my psyche, something that might cause a psychotic break or something like that.
Mhm.
And when I hugged this person um, Friday night, I was standing in that room again.
Oh, wow.
First time ever. I have never shared that space, never held that space with anyone but my abusers, ever.
Mm.
And I whispered to her, I was like, "Do you feel that carpeting under our feet?" I said, "I've walked this carpet many times." I said,
Mhm.
"It's dark in here, but we both know what color the wall is without even having any light on." I said, "It was
Right.
scary in this room, wasn't it?" She said, "Yes, extremely." And I pulled back and I looked at her like, did I actually say that and you actually say it? Did we not say it, but we felt it and heard it? It was one of those experiences I'll never, ever forget. And I'll tell you why this weekend was so wonderful for me. It's because God finally brought me to a spot where I'm not the solo player. I'm not the only player on the field wearing that jersey that I thought. How Misty, how we can feel like no one totally understands, and that
Right.
no, you look for someone who's been on the same team, played the same game, and there are those who come close. Well, my jersey's purple, red, and orange. Well, she's got purple and orange. She's got red and yellow. She's got purple, but never and even if they're the same colors, they're not in the same design, or you know,
Mhm.
um, close. It's like this. It's like we meet people from the same manufacturing plant, but so seldom that we meet people that we feel have been cut from the same bolt of cloth.
Right.
And that's what happened. So, all I can say, and this will wrap up all those questions in one. I want everybody to understand, I don't care what you went through, every tear that we've ever cried, every moan that ever escaped our lips, every time we sat there rocking like this, going
Right.
like this, shrinking, hoping to shrink into nothingness. Every one of those movements, actions, tears wrote a syllable down on our heart that
Oh.
became a part of a word of our story. Every single one of them. There were never any mistakes. There were never any curses. Those were only our blessings that were becoming.
Well, I told everyone you were a wordsmith, and you are, because the words that flow out of your mouth are they're just beautiful. They're eloquent.
Well,
But that kind
thank
of
you.
brings me back to this part I wanted to say, because,
Mhm.
when I think of foster care, honestly, and being transparent, I've heard and I've been taught, that it's people that just want to get more money. They watch more kids to get a bigger check.
Mm.
People that are pedophiles, or whatever. But I'm sure in the foster care system, and I know that you've suffered abuse throughout there were certain homes that were better
There
than
were.
others.
There were.
But isn't there also in the foster system? the people that are there for the right reasons, that are the good
Yes.
people, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
And you know, I can remember each and every one of their names. And for
the
the
good
greatest
ones.
of the great, in my hall of fame of those people, I even remember the address and the telephone number.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What about, let me ask you this question, Lauren, because I know we
Sure.
hear a lot about abusers from the parental figures, but let's talk about the other kids that you maybe in that foster home with. What was it like having to share a new home with brand new siblings that's like an automatic family? Um, like going to school, especially, I'm really curious about that. Like you go to school, are you supposed to protect each other because now you're an instant family? Is there
Mm-hmm.
more of a rivalry between you because you're competing and vying for attention and affection from the foster parents? What was that part like?
Well, you know, let me address the competition aspect. The only time you felt something like that were when I only time I can only speak from my journey.
Right.
The only time I felt that kind of competition or us and them was when I was in a home where their kids, their biological kids, excuse me, were entitled.
Right. Yeah.
And there were homes that people used your presence to show their kids how good they had it.
Right.
They'd
They
have
people.
steak, we'd have hot dogs. Or they'd have bacon and eggs, we'd have toast. They'd play in the yard, we'd each have a square of the sidewalk. Don't
Wow.
get out of it. Don't cross the lines. Can't even play with the person in the square next to you. You can talk, just don't reach over the line. I actually lived in a place like that. Now, as far as going to school, my situation was a little different because I'd been raised in private school. Excuse me, my allergies are bad today.
It's okay.
Um, I was raised in parochial school, so I was kind of ahead. And when I entered the foster system, um, you know, they test you and all. And most of the kids would go to, if they were going to, well, before I grew into congregate care, which is also known as group homes. While I was in the regular homes when you're little, they put you in regular houses with regular families. But as you
Right.
get older, you're moving closer and closer to what we refer to as the upper room, which was congregate care, which is very much an institutional setting. So in the regular homes, those kids, my other foster kids, would go to what was called special ed back then.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where they called the R word. The kids were called R, and they'd be teased. And I'll admit, there were times that, especially when I was new,
Mm-hmm.
first day, first week, I would do everything I could to not be seen with the other kids from the home because I knew they were going to the remedial area and they'd be called retards. I didn't want to be associated. It's just like, carrying the trash bags, which they still have today, which pisses me the hell off. You know, the kids in the neighborhood go to your school. They know a new kid's coming because the kids that live there already ran their miles. So
Right.
they wait. They know the state car with the big ass symbol on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they watch you get your stuff out of the trunk and carry over. So the next day at school, you're like, hey, you're a hobo.
Yeah.
You're garbage. You carry your stuff in garbage bags, and you get that kind of stuff, and you don't want to start any trouble because you don't want to get moved because you're unmanageable. So there's all those challenges, but I was an entertainer from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
so I knew how to make it work. Now, as I grew older and went into the institutional settings, it's a little different. Excuse me, because there they had like trailers where the kids who weren't able to go to regular school, they didn't throw them. That was the only great thing. Well, there were a couple great things about congregate care, about group homes. Lots of kids. It felt like you were in college. You were in a dormitory setting. Hallways, hallways just like at school. You know, but now I understand because then to segue in, and this will feed into what we're going to get into later about the institutional thing. You're being groomed in
Mm-hmm.
those in the group home that I was in. I didn't know it then because I hadn't been to jail. I hadn't been to prison. But the mattresses, that green mattress, that mint green, that's what you sleep
Down.
on. Yep, that's what you sleep on. They don't
Mm-hmm.
give you sheets. They give you that shroud that you pull over, and so you don't have to tuck anything. Those same woolly blankets,
Ugh,
those
itchy.
same ones. those same hard pillows that the pillowcase slides off of. You got to
Mm-hmm.
tie it on, or it was going to be on the floor. The pillow going to be on the floor by the morning. The hallways, the same gray paint. The beds are metal frames bolted to the cement floor, just like jail. When
So
we
you
would go down to eat, we
mm,
sat at the same kinds of tables. The stools, the individual rooms, the little desk that's built into the wall had the same silver round seat,
mhm.
just like jail.
Yeah, wow.
So we were already being groomed to be fed from one system directly into the next system.
So the statistics probably are in the favor that kids coming out of foster care or group homes have a higher rate of going to jail and prison, correct?
And recidivism.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's interesting you say that because Cedric Riley just
Mhm.
had a young guy from Ohio on a show yesterday. Um, I'm getting him on my show, and he's doing something. He's uh, begging the government to implement a system to be accountable for how many foster kids are actually ending up in, because he believes it's a pipeline for prison. So there really is something there, but even there, I gotta say this, even there were the good things. We were fortunate enough. I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, so there's Eastern Michigan and Ypsilanti right next door, and then there's University of Michigan. So we had surrogate parents. They were all graduate students in social work and psychology and things like that. So you'd be able to still feel like a family because I had a surrogate brother and a surrogate sister there, Carla and Randy, and still in touch with Randy today, and Daryl and Faye were our. He was black, she was white. They were our surrogate parents, so we were a little family. The five of us.
Mhm.
We could go and spend the night at their houses or their apartments because they were grad students. Um, and that was nice because you know the foster families, there were so many different dynamics between them all, but there were those people that just love children. They
Yeah.
love saving children. They save animals. They take care of all the old people in the neighborhood, and they
Little
held
single.
you. Mm-hmm. They get, sometimes some homes we were in, you got more attention and cuddling and love than their own kids, and you felt guilty
Right.
about that sometimes. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't know, though, that you very rarely hear spoken on, is you'd think that I would have run into older kids that were in the system that were abusers because hurt people. As far as the sexual abuse and stuff,
Right.
no, no, it always came from, excuse me, some older male in the family that you were with, either an older son, nephew that they were boarding, because they always have those inside family foster kids too that aren't in the system.
So not one
The,
of your own.
nope, never ever was it another foster kid. Not
Wow.
once. Can I
That's
say that?
that's
Not
pretty.
once.
I didn't realize that. And
Never once. Because we're the
and
victims.
you're the victim, yeah. And I want to go back to what Stephen had asked. He'd asked about why you ended up in so many foster homes, and that segues into what I wanted to find out is
Mm-hmm.
so you told me there are good people that are in it for all the right reasons, and there are
Mm-hmm.
people that are really horrible,
Mm-hmm.
and you've had both. So
Mm-hmm.
if you were in a home that was a good home, it's a good stable environment, things were good, why were you taken and removed from that home?
Well, it's because, say, okay, one of the things was my foster, my caseworker Anne, when I became her charge, she was 3 weeks out of graduating from college. She had just started working 3 weeks in the field, and when I found her 30 some years later, she had just retired, had been retired for 3 weeks. Very
Oh,
interesting, right? She's an
wow.
old woman by then. But back then, when I had her, every time she went on maternity leave, I'd get a substitute worker.
Right.
And Ann was like an angel. She loved me. We had a secret system of communicating. She would say to me, she told me the very first day, she said, listen, she wasn't the one who took me from my original home to that first foster home. That was just a temporary person who drove around taking kids places.
Mm-hmm.
But my first permanent one was Ann. And she told me the very first day she took me out for ice cream, she said, listen to me, not all people are good people. If you are, and not all people look like bad people. She goes, so, and I know that. I may have just started this, but I've lived as a kid too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget it. And she goes, listen to me, I'm going to always ask you to be a gentleman when I'm there and when I'm not. So I'm going to always ask you as a gentleman to walk me to my car when I leave. That is your chance. Anything is wrong, doesn't feel right, whether you can prove it or not, I will believe you. If you want to leave where you're at, all you do is squeeze my hand 2 times between the door and the car. And I will come back that day for you. She did that because there were things going on. There were people that were like, remember the cartoons where it would be like an insurance salesman in his little office, and then as soon as he got the person's money, he could take everything off the wall and everything and put it the
Yeah.
chair and put it all in one attaché case.
Right.
That's kind of how some people were. They'd be one way, and then they know the caseworker was coming, so they get you there, and they'd
Yeah.
say, tell you how to act, how to dare say this, and then they'd
Right.
always, even when the caseworker is trying to sit at the coffee table or the dining room table and talk to you privately, they're right around that corner
Right around the
listening
corner. Right.
because they
Exactly.
do it with other kids. We watch what happens when other kids caseworkers come to visit. We're somewhere in the house watching what they're doing through windows and round corners and things like that. And we've seen what's happened to
Right.
kids that ran their mouths because none of them take you right on the spot. They have to go and get it approved, and lots can happen
Even if
before
it's
they
a
come back.
really bad situation, they can't just remove you if you they walk
Unless you've
in
got
and bruised
physical.
up or
Now, yeah, if you've got physical things that they can
yeah.
see, but those people know how to do stuff. We had a place where it's just like the police. They would use phone books. They had big rubber bands around phone books, and they would hit kids in the rib cage and on the back and buttocks and thighs and things like that. I was in a foster home where the woman she only picked on one little girl, and she would burn the bottom of her feet with her cigarettes,
Oh.
or under her armpit. She had
Mm.
boils under her armpits from her, they, because a lot of people, the really mean ones, they want you there to do work. You're a slave. That's basically it. Or to take something out on a kid that their own kid that left them and has severed the relationship. So, oh, Carol, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. But again, I don't want people to think that every person who is a foster parent, there are more good foster parents than there are not good foster parents.
That's good to know. That's good to
Yeah,
know because it doesn't seem that way. If you're someone from the outside that's never
yeah.
experienced it, I didn't realize that. So that's why I like to do these shows because it's about educating each other and becoming
It
aware
is.
of certain
It is.
situations.
It
So
is. And I want to say something, to finish off that question. Anne had 5 children, and 3 of them were born while she was directly in charge of me. So if she took 2 months off before she delivered, and she had like a month and a half afterwards, or whatever that maternity time was, I might have 6 or 7 temporary caseworkers. And if a caseworker knows that I'm a 9-year-old that she can move anywhere because the house that I'm in can take 9 through 15, and she's got a hard to place kid
she's
that's
gonna
in
move.
that age group. She's gonna move me just so she can put
Oh,
one there. So sometimes you're just a part of a logistical plan that has nothing to do with you or your behavior. And it's you. And believe it or not, uncannily enough, most of the time that happened, it was in the places you thought you hoped you'd never leave.
and
You've
so
gotten close. Mm-hmm.
so not just are you having to worry about your homes and hit or miss what kind of home you're going to land, but it's also a hit or miss what kind of caseworker you're going to get because not all caseworkers were probably in it
Oof,
for the right reasons as well, right? With
no.
passion and empathy and all that.
Yes, I had a caseworker one time. She had a whole bunch of garbage bags in her trunk. She had a little bitty car like a Pinto back then before they started blowing up. Um, and she tried her best to stuff my garbage bag and stuff back there with it. And because it wouldn't fit, she left everybody because it was a nice house I was leaving. And she pulled to in the very first abandoned parking lot she came to, and she took my bag and threw it out and said, "Shake it, open it up." And she opened it up, and I was like, "Why?" And she just grabbed it, and shook everything out and said, now shake all that shit out. You're not putting roaches in the front of my car. They can live in the trunk all they want to, but I can't fit that in there. It's going to be up here with us. So, and I mean, it's so demeaning to a
Yeah.
child, and people are watching now, and you're scared to look up, and you're afraid to piss them off because they can make a bad situation worse if they really want to. And they
Mm-mm.
can write anything. That's the thing. They can write down anything. I had so many instances where I had stories related back to me that had nothing to do with any reality I had been part of. Yeah, they said at that house that you were going during the day and sleeping in going into other people's beds and urinating in their beds just for spite and things, because a lot of times too, because I find sometimes you have a house where the biological kids are at there was one I was in, and he was a pillhead. He was doing black
Yeah.
beauties and stuff. I was like 11 by then, and I saw them. They fell out of his pocket once, and he was so afraid I was going to tell. He set me up. He took some of those pills and put them in my drawers, and then went and told his mom. And she came in the middle of the night, found him in there, and it
Yeah.
covered some story where she thought it was him before, or it was his. Now he said, "I told you it wasn't me." And now they came and took me away, and now they got to put in my file that you know,
Right.
right?
There's so many angles I never even realized because, I guess if you had foster parents that you weren't, in their eyes, you weren't a good fit for their family, I guess they had to find a way to get rid of you so they could fabricate anything. And I can only imagine having fallen to crack cocaine and how powerless I felt over that drug.
Yes.
How, as a child in the foster system, you must have felt so powerless, knowing that they could write or say anything they wanted. You could be uprooted in the middle of the night, the middle of the day, in the middle of the school day, and just moved across town, across wherever. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it had to have been powerless, correct?
Very much so. And even when you thought, if you did have those times where you thought you had power, say for instance, you were, say, 2 or 3 foster homes removed from where there was an abuser. Well, he still was with you. He followed you. When I got to the end of the road, 16 years old, and getting out, because I was blessed enough to get out on a thing called a pilot program at the time called independent living, where I would have had to stay there for 2 more years. But I had been on Governor Milliken. This is in Michigan. Governor Milliken's advisory board for juvenile justice, which was a fluke. Um, and I petitioned him, and he let me be one of 3 kids in the state to be a part of this pilot program. But I'm telling you, by the time I got through those 22 homes, I was abused the very first night. The very first night in the very first home. Some of you have heard that story from the stage
Yeah.
about the mattress propped against the wall with the hole in it.
Yeah.
Now that abuser was with me with all of the other 7 abusers. They were all with me all the way through. And when Brian and I first got married, or even when we were first dating, we'd be going back and forth. Honestly, I'd be here visiting, or he'd be, we'd be going back and forth. Sometimes we were in the same car and stuck in traffic in Michigan City. I know Brian will remember. And like as recently as 3-4 years ago, my very first perpetrator chewed peppermint gum
Oh,
while he was in the act. And um, to this day, peppermint just nauseates me beyond belief.
sure.
Um, and I was in the car with Brian, and the car just filled with the smell of peppermint out of nowhere, to the point where I had to open the door and
Mhm.
retch out on the freeway, on the highway. And so there are things that you take with you, because they whisper all kinds of things that they know will keep you from, will ensure your silence. They tell you that we know where your regular family lives, and wouldn't it be horrible if you end up hearing your caseworker comes and tell you they all died in a fire? Because
Mm-mm.
if you tell, that's what's going to happen. No one's going to believe you. And this
Did,
is, you look at you. You know what kind of kid you are? You're disposable. You're garbage. Why do you think they give you that trash bag? You're nothing. And you know what? This is love. What I'm giving you is love. So you should learn to like it. Trust me. And I remember the thing that was consistent in several of them is how they could go from, come on, buddy, you know, who's your best pal? Did you ever tell anybody?
Mm-hmm.
I promise you. But it's okay. They would just, shit,
Jekyll and Hyde. Mm-hmm.
right. But
Mm-hmm.
thank God that he created that room with that carpet and those walls, because he would always pick me up and
Your
fly me
safe, your safe
away.
room.
Hmm.
Yeah. Mental safe room.
Absolutely.
Wow. It must take such strength and stamina and resilience to get through some of those situations, and how you could come out of them and not be completely scarred up is such the beautiful part of your story, is that, it's what I always say
But
is
I
it's
am scarred up.
right.
You know, I mean it. I'm covered, and
Yeah.
I'm grateful. I'm covered from head to toe. You know why? Because
Mhm.
I know now beneath every single scar, every time I peel one back, find the courage to peel one back, because scars are proof that I've healed.
Right.
So I love the scars, and underneath every scar, there lives a heart of a
Mhm.
story that's waiting to beat by me sharing it.
I was talking more of emotional scarred, like scarred up,
Yeah, now
like
those are the ones. Now, there you go.
those are the bad ones. I know with the abuse
Woo,
with me, those, the
girl,
physical scars heal, but those mental ones,
you can't see them.
you can't. But
I still fight. You're absolutely right.
yeah, it's tough. But the fact that you, and what, like I said, the reason you're such a powerful guest on this type of show is because it's, like I say, it's not about the adversity. It's, I think what sets people apart in this world is what they choose to do with it after they've survived it. Either you
Yes.
share it, you help it, you don't waste it, or you sit and you dwell and you let it ruin you and eat you up, and you stay toxic the rest of your life. So
Yep.
you're definitely not that person. You're definitely someone that has learned how to turn it around. Oh, turn it around. Hang on a second. Speaking of turn it
Why
around,
did I see Jason Cisneros' face? Because every time somebody says that, he's got a joke about. Hey.
speaking of turn it around, Lauren is also a recording artist. Check it out.
Oh my God, this is so embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing. It's awesome.
It's so funny.
I love it, Lauren.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
At least one time a day, I somehow lose my way. Go left when I should go right. Can't find the words to say. Can't scream and I can pay. I feel I'm losing this fight. I can't control this ball keeps rolling
Yep, there are no mistakes.
in my head. I feel mistreated and my heart is bleeding. Sometimes I wish I was dead. Once you start believing the answers they receiving, you find yourself turning around.
All right. Well,
Okay, yay! Thank you
yeah,
for playing that. That was sweet.
absolutely. And that's exactly what you did in your life, is you turned it
Yeah,
around. And we're going to talk about that. I want, we're way behind schedule because your story, there's just so much to it.
that's
But
okay.
I always
We'll take
ask,
it up to the top.
yep, we always ask the guest to think of a moment in their life, something maybe
Mm.
that they've never even shared before, a deep, dark moment, really tap into your emotions and vulnerabilities, and think of a moment in your life that you're daring to share with the audience that might have been a pivotal.
Oh,
Think of something real
I
intense,
already know.
and I'm going to jump out and thank our sponsors real quick. When we come back, I want to have you share that and share how it turned. And it might have been something that happened, and 15 years later, you realized that was your turning point, didn't even know it. But think about that just for a minute. I'm going to jump off and thank our sponsors real quick. Okay. Thank you. Today's show is sponsored by Simple Changes from Wanda Reynolds. Make a simple change today for a healthier tomorrow with products like Simply Satisfy, which aids in gut digestion and curbs your appetite. Mental wellness is directly related to gut health, so keep a happy gut with Simply Satisfy. Then there's Simply Soothe. It helps relax your sore muscles and it supports your overall joint health. Simply Start is made from 100% organic hemp oil. It promotes your calmness, supports sleep, and maintains healthy joints. Contact Wanda Reynolds today through Facebook Messenger or at scdso.com/live life wonderfully. Health provides simple solutions to whole body health. To get and stay healthy, we offer Somaderm HGH Gel. Would you like to sleep like a baby and wake up rested? Do you want to feel maximum benefits from physical exercise? Do you want to burn through that afternoon slump with energy to last well into the night? Well, you can. And you may also experience 25 other whole body improvements with the gel. It's effective, safe, FDA registered, and very affordable. Diane has immuno boosters and keto support products too. Contact Diane Chasik at lifesmilehealth.com or text lifestyle to 64600 today. All right. Thank you. Please support our sponsors. They continue to support this platform. All right, Lauren.
Yeah. Mistie, you do great voiceover work.
That's what everybody keeps saying. Jason said he was going to hire me, but I hadn't heard from him.
It's really good. I'll get on it. Yeah. Good job.
You have to keep that in mind for future stuff then. All right. Uh-huh. All right, Lauren. We didn't get to talk about the prison stuff, but that's okay because I'm sure I'm going to have you back time and time again.
Yeah.
But I want you to go ahead and share with us that moment, that dark moment that you're daring to share.
Yeah. Actually, it was recently.
Okay.
You get to that point in your life where you have to really live within courage. And that's what I love about the title of your show, and your message, not just your show, your message about be that one and dare to share. And in my adoptive family, I've learned over the years, people are going to talk crap about you when you're down. They're going to talk crap about you when you're pulling yourself up. And they're going to talk crap about you when you're soaring above them. So it doesn't matter. But boundaries and power go hand in hand. And there was a person in my, one of my sisters in my adoptive family, really the last one that I had any kind of contact with or relationship with. And we had something here at the house a couple of months ago, specifically for her, because she was been going through some hard times. She lost her husband to suicide right a week or so before COVID came about. And the thing is, when that happened, I wasn't speaking to her at the time because of this very same thing. Mm-hmm. But the minute that happened, that went out the window. It wasn't important. I flew to her side. Then she was here, and you don't understand the power. God says that he will protect us when we need to be protected. He said, but he also says, no weapon formed against you. He doesn't say anything about weapons that you willfully give to people and say, here, use this against me.
Right.
And, with this sister, her thing was whenever she didn't get her way, ever since I came out of that system, because she was the one who picked me up, her and her husband picked me up. She was living in our family home. Because I was the youngest kid when they removed me. She was already gone. They were all gone but me. And she stayed in that house. And so that's where I went to when I went on independent living. But I got a check every month from the state to pay rent. And they charged me rent because I had to give a receipt. So I lived in their basement. I could have went and got an apartment anywhere. Yeah. But I went down there. And I lived in the basement, which I shouldn't have done. I know now. But every time over the years, for all these years, whenever something didn't go her way or she didn't like something else, especially now that I do this kind of work, where you're telling people, change your mindset, change everything, blah, blah, blah. She would go to, well, I was the one who came and got you out of the foster system. When I found my birth family and I was calling my adoptive siblings to say, guess what? I found my mom, blah, blah, blah. She was the one who said, don't listen to them. They're liars. She was a drug addict and a prostitute, which was never true. And she was also the one who said to me, how can you talk to those people? When you call me, let's pretend they don't exist. We're the ones who saved you from the garbage. The minute she said garbage, it was a trigger. And it's been something about that ever since. So when she was here, she didn't like something I said. We had all kinds of family and friends here. And for the first time ever, when she did it, when she said that thing about the foster care, I was like, I told you don't get to do that anymore. I told you before, you cannot do that to me anymore. And see, she would say, and I wondered why there were certain people in my family that still called me Larry. That was a fake name. That was what they hid me under that name because I was really stolen. I wasn't adopted. I was taken from my birth mother, and then she got a letter that said I died, and they kept me. When they picked me up, put me in the system, said, "You're Lauren Harris. You're not Larry Dixon." And they still in that family, some of them, and now since the thing with my sister when she was here, all the ones that when I talk to them, the nieces and nephews and stuff, and they say Uncle Larry, I'll say, listen, Larry, I buried Larry.
I buried
Larry's
Larry.
done.
Mhm.
Larry's gone. He doesn't exist. He never really did exist. And they started saying, and I explained to them why, and they now all of them said, I never realized, Uncle Lauren, I'm sorry. And they don't call me that just since that thing. So that was the beauty. Something good comes from everything, but it's unfortunate that I had to put that on her and say, listen, you cannot, why don't you go? How do you ever ask yourself? I said to her, do you ever ask yourself why you don't go? That's why you ended up a crackhead. That's why you ended up in jail or prison. You could pick the things that were my choices, but you choose the one thing that I had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is that?
She can control it. And you
And
can't.
I can too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if that's what you need to do it somewhere else.
That's right.
And that's what happened. And so that was you're the first person I've talked to that about outside of my family.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And it's important too for the viewers to know that, we've been hurt in the past. We've gone through a lot of things and we already feel down on ourselves. We already feel like there's a lot of shame involved with some of our own actions, like with me, it was my drugs. Some things weren't in our control, some things were. But
Yeah.
it's also important to know that you can't let other people talk down to you. You've got to stand up to it. You got to rise up and you've got to protect yourself. You've got to stand up for yourself as well. It's
That's right.
about, if you want to be a better person, it's about standing up and being that better person. And part of that is